Hi everyone, it's your boy Zach, and I just finished watching Star Trek, The Undiscovered Country, which is Star Trek 6. I erroneously called it Star Trek 5 on my other channel yesterday. But a couple things. Number one, I don't understand why on Amazon Prime Video, for some reason, I saw the name of the movie and then I saw a bunch of other stuff in brackets, so I was like, oh, it must be a director's edition or a special edition or whatever. And then I got halfway through and I looked at it and it said theatrical edition. I was like, what? Why does that get a different name? Isn't that the deal? Usually when the things that the usual version, they just call it the name. And then if you make it director's cut or extended or I don't know. My OCD just kind of went insane from that. Number two is why does Star Trek go so well with whiskey? It just absolutely does. I had a nice whiskey last night, and that's why I'm reviewing it in the morning instead of right now. But I was thinking about this talking to my buddy, because I started this when I was watching Star Trek Discovery, which is kind of rough, so I kind of needed the whiskey to get through it. I had already committed to reviewing, all the episodes. But now I just do it whenever I watch anything Star Trek, and it's for a couple of reasons. Number one, there's a lot of drinking in Star Trek. I would say there is more drinking than in the average show. I mean, basically every movie you're going to have a bar scene. all of the TV shows, for the most part, they have some sort of bar as a major element. And so the other thing about is that Star Trek is kind of calm and easygoing. One of the things about it that made it popular is it's sci-fi for normies, so they never really overload you with information, and things are kind of usually told at a fairly moderate pace. Now, yes, the Kelvin timeline TV show movies are different, but if you see, all the other movies, it's just like some late middle-aged overweight men just kind of walking down these carpeted hallways explaining some space anomaly or another. So you can get fairly well hammered and still completely follow almost any episode of Star Trek, any of the series. And honestly, I didn't get lost watching Discovery. I was talking to my buddy, it's like you couldn't drink whiskey and watch Star Wars. It wouldn't be relaxing. People are always running down hallways and shooting blasters. No. Sword fights. No. I just want, a 62-year-old William Shatner who looks like he's pregnant with some sort of giant ostrich egg. It's hard to say. Ostrich egg. So this is the 6th movie. This is the first movie that came out after I started driving. You might say, wow, that's really boring. Who cares? Well, the point is, this is the first Star Trek movie where I could control how many times I saw it. And I saw this a bunch of times. Probably 5 times when it was in the theaters. And I absolutely loved it. I loved it because it was a little different than the other movies, which I was not that crazy on. I didn't really like Star Trek when I was a kid. My dad loved it, but I just, it was just the show my dad liked. My dad also liked watching, The Lone Ranger. So this one is, over the last couple of months, I've watched all of the original cast Star Trek movies, except for 4? Whatever one with the whales. Yeah, that was 4. And the reason I didn't watch that is because I caught about half of it while at a hotel while I was traveling on business, and I was just like, boy, this seems to age the worst. It's a bunch of sitcom jokes that fall really, really flat, 30 years later. So I probably will. If it's free on Amazon Prime Video, I will. They just unlocked a bunch of Star Trek movies, so I'm going to be doing First Contact, Insurrection, and one of the other TNG movies. But anyway, this one was the return of Nicholas Meyer, although you wouldn't know it from the credits, because if you read the credits, it looks like he's just one of 6 people. But I did a little, small. Okay, so I clicked on the trivia while watching it on my phone on Amazon Prime Video. And it said that it actually really was Nicholas Meyer's, creative work. It's just because of Writers Guild and contracts and threats for lawsuits that a bunch of other people ended up getting on there. But it definitely feels like a Nicholas Meyer movie. Nicholas Meyer did, of course, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. He did, the 7% Solution, and he's not related to me. But this is a murder mystery in space. Government named the most ensemble Star Trek movie ever. Oh my gosh. So if you know anything about the original cast, there's a lot of jockeying for screen time and more dialogue. Spock was just supposed to be like, a supporting character, but straight out of the gate, he was, a popular character, so they had to rework the contracts. And to this day, George Takei is really butthurt, no pun intended, about William Shatner's ego. But oh my gosh, this is the last full cast movie, and I would swear that Shatner gets as many lines as Walter Koenig or Koenig, however you say this name. I would have sworn every main character got the same amount. Like, sometimes you'll see Kirk and you go, oh yeah, Kirk. I feel like I haven't seen him for like 12 minutes in this movie. But it's a story about it was very much of its time. This was the era of glasnost and perestroika, and the wall coming down between East Germany and West Germany, and reunification, and then the Iron Curtain going up or down or sideways, just drawing back or up or down, or which direction did the Iron Curtain open in? I always imagined it just dropped to the ground, but I guess it could raise. I feel like this curtain analogy hasn't been thought through very thoroughly, but it's very much of its time. So if you don't understand it, it just seems like Starfleet is weirdly racist all of a sudden for no reason. You also got to watch the earlier movies where the Klingons were basically the Russians, and it was like a Cold War type of storyline going on throughout the Star Trek movies of the 1980s. So anyway, there's Klingon homeworld is basically endangered, so they need the Federation a lot more than they ever did before. So they're trying to do peace talks. A whole bunch of people don't want peace with Klingons for various reasons, and then Kirk, and then weirdly enough, McCoy end up getting framed for murder. Kirk, because he's the captain of a ship that fires some torpedoes, and then it was just realized I still don't understand how the torpedoes were fired. Oh, no. The torpedoes were fired, but then the logs were falsified. Okay, sorry. Because when I was watching it, like, they kept saying, it's like, we've accounted for all the torpedoes. It's like, but the logs say this and that. So I was really into that paperwork aspect of this. Kirk is the captain of the ship. Again, I don't even remember how they explain that. He's just a captain again, and he's a captain of the Enterprise. I mean, he was like, they didn't even have the Enterprise for what, like 2 movies? Right? No, they didn't have it for all of 4. It was the Bird of Prey. But they're like, oh yeah, we got a new Enterprise, and there's like 62. Oh, actually, 62 is not that old to be a captain of a battleship. No, it's kind of is too old. So Kirk, because he's a captain, and then McCoy goes on to the Klingon ship that was fired upon by the Enterprise without the permission of Kirk. And then when he isn't able to save the Chancellor Gorkon, then he gets accused of murder as well. Then they have a kangaroo court show trial where they have the guy who plays Worf playing his grandfather. They just give him like different head ridges and a different wig. Oh, speaking of, so this has Christopher Plummer as Captain Admiral Chang, And I remember not even that being that much into Star Trek, but when it first was announced, they showed his makeup, and it was like, that's just a humanoid with a shaved head, some really, really minor ridges, and really, really minor, like, difference of the bridge of the nose. I was like, what's going on here? Because at the time we had TNG, which had, used basically the Klingons as they had been since Star Trek 3. And then this was almost like a regression, almost like halfway back to the original TV show Klingons. I was like, what's going on here? So, like, it doesn't even look like he's half Klingon. It looks like he might be like a quarter. But probably the worst part is them trying to redo Wrath of Khan with this General Chang. I mean, there were some quotes of literature in Star Trek Wrath of Khan, so they have like 4 times as many in this one, and they're all very, like, freshmen in college trying to look smart but looking pretentious. They have a battle-ish, so that's not the good part. The good part is actually just the ensemble. It's the first and only true ensemble Star Trek movie, and I actually really like that. Yes, everyone looks fat and old and very, very tired. Oh my gosh. I mean, nobody's on death's door in this movie. So I remember they're so old. I remember that all through all of the 80s, but they only really started getting out of shape in the 5th movie. I mean, you look at Shatner in Star Trek The Motion Picture. Oh, by the way, Fathom Events is going to have that in September. I'm really, really excited about seeing that in a theater. But he's fit as a fiddle in the first movie, and he's like 52 or something like that, 50. This is the one where just everyone's fat. Even people, you ever see people who have never been fat, all of a sudden they got a belly? Like Leonard Nimoy has a belly. He was skinny up until the 5th movie. Chekhov has a ridiculous wig on. What's his name? Scotty is big as a freaking house. But I liked it. I would say I definitely do not like it anywhere as much as I did when I saw it 5 times at the age of 18 or 19 or something like that. But it's a good movie. I don't know why Amazon Prime Video put the theatrical version at the end. Just put Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country. And it's a enjoyable, kind of trashy. Boy, I used to put this at the top of them. I hate how they're like, the only good ones are the even numbered ones. Whatever. There are a lot of great parts of Star Trek 1, Star Trek 3, and yes, even Star Trek 5. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll have, I don't know, some other movie or TV show sometime in the future. Thanks for watching. Bye.